Well, I'm officially an old guy now, because old guys do a thing that I'm about to do. So go ahead and call me a boomer, although technically, just so you know, I'm not a boomer. But what I'm getting ready to do lumps me in with the boomers. I am going to be building a boat. That's right. I'm going to stop buying boats and start building one instead, at least for now. No, not the scale model boat kit that I started building over the winter, but an actual real boat. You might be wondering, why am I doing this? I'm doing it for the experience. I love boating and I love boats. I like kayaking, I like power boats. I like going out on commercial workboats. I have enjoyed building the WoodenBoat model, and I like John boats and other little aluminum boats. I appreciate sailing, but it seems a little complicated. As far as boat construction goes, I've owned a few fiberglass boats, I've owned a few aluminum boats, but I've never owned a wooden boat. And I certainly don't have the desire and the skills to actually build a real wooden boat, but I have been intrigued with wooden kit boats. So here's what I'm doing. I am building a kit boat from Chesapeake Light Craft, and I will be building it as part of a class at Chesapeake Light Craft that they are doing in partnership with WoodenBoat School. So WoodenBoat School, who also publish WoodenBoat magazine, is located in Maine, and they offer some week-long programs up in Maine during the summer, but they also partner with Chesapeake Light Craft to host classes in other areas of the country, and they are the ones who are offering this class. The boat I'm going to be building is the Jimmy Skiff II, and there are several reasons why I picked this particular boat to build. Number one of the interesting characteristics of the Jimmy Skiff II is that it is a boat that can be rowed, sailed, or run with a small outboard motor. While I don't ever see myself actually rowing a boat, I do have a few small outboard motors that are perfectly suited to this particular boat because it has a 15-inch transom and it's rated for very lightweight, low horsepower outboards, which I have several. So I don't have to go shopping right away for another outboard motor, and I'm not limited to just sailing, which I'm not sure if I'd be interested in doing at this point in time. But this boat can be outfitted as a sailboat if I decide to go that route in the future. Number two, in conjunction with the WoodenBoat School, I'm able to start this project in a classroom setting just down the road from me in Annapolis, which means that the first 50 or so hours of the build will actually take place in a classroom over the course of 6 consecutive days. And that's something that works really well for me because a classroom situation is better for me to actually get a project like this started. Number three, this is a less expensive and less time-consuming build than their 2 larger boats that can be operated with an outboard motor. Meaning, the odds of me actually completing this project are much better than one of the boats that take like 250 hours to build. Number four, I mentioned that this boat can also be sailed, and while I won't be building it out to sail at this time, apparently that is something that I can easily do in the future if I decide to. Number five, this boat easily fits on my brand new trailer, and it's very similar in size to my 14-foot Lone Star aluminum boat that I've been enjoying over the last year. So yes, this is actually happening. I received my folder the other day that includes lots of great information and a shopping list of some of the tools and things that I need to be able to build this boat. At the end of the week, we take our boats home to do all of the finishing work, which I imagine includes additional fiberglassing and lots of sanding. And doing this much of the work in a 1-week time in a classroom setting will have me so much farther along with the build than if I was doing it at my own pace at home. So let's take a closer look at the Jimmy Skiff II. The Jimmy Skiff II is 13 feet 2 inches long with a 52-inch beam. It weighs anywhere from 120 to 150 pounds and has a 525-pound capacity. As I mentioned earlier, though, this boat is primarily designed as a sailing or rowing boat, but the design has been modified to allow for a lightweight and low horsepower outboard. And low horsepower is something that might not appeal to you, but these are the motors that I happen to have several of, and I'm currently running on my 14-foot aluminum boat. But what I really like about this particular boat is that it has side benches. So there's nothing to step over when moving around the boat. And for me, that's a big positive. So there's a relatively flat floor that runs from the front of the boat to the back. The side benches are actually not storage. They are filled with flotation foam. And this slot right here is able to drop in a dagger board when sailing. The square hole up front is where the mast would be mounted for a sailing rig. So with these two elements included, this boat can be easily upgraded for sailing in the future, or not at all. I believe the kit also comes with a drop-in center bench for rowing, which may or may not make sense to use when running an outboard solo. You know, for weight distribution. It might make sense just to sit on one of the side benches, which I hope is true. So why would I choose to build the Jimmy Skiff II instead of the Peeler Skiff, which I made a video about last year and measures 15 feet long and can handle up to a 15 horsepower outboard? Their Peeler Skiff is a really nice boat, but it takes 250 hours to build, which is at least 100 hours more than the Jimmy Skiff II. In addition, the kit for the Peeler Skiff costs twice as much as the Jimmy Skiff II kit. And I would need to find a more suitable motor for it than one of my little electrics. But more importantly, for me personally, they do not offer a class to build the Peeler Skiff. So I would be taking on a 250-hour build completely on my own. And I'm old enough to know myself pretty well. Attention deficit disorder, space to work, my other obligations in my life, all of those factors could very easily have me spending $3,400 for a kit that never ends up looking like an actual boat. Which led me to taking on a project that I believe I actually have the potential to complete. And it's much more budget friendly. And quite frankly, for me, all of this is part of my journey. This will be my 8th boat in less than 6 years. And I really enjoy seeing what different boats are like and learning about how different types of boats feel and handle. This boat, being a skiff, might have some interesting characteristics and be very well suited for some of the things that I like to do with my boats. I really like the fact that it's different than any other boat that I've owned. And it would be something I build myself. So there's that sense of accomplishment as well. So there definitely will be more to come with this particular project. Whether I complete it or not, there's going to be more content to come. I'm going to try to shoot some video while I'm building this boat down at Chesapeake Light Craft. And once it gets home, I'll certainly be putting up a video looking at our next steps with this project. If you're considering building something like this, please come along with me on the journey. If you've done something like this already, I'd love to hear about that in the comments. And if you never would consider doing any one of these things, I understand that as well. And I thank you all for watching. So right here's the next video YouTube has picked for you, and I'll see you in the next one.